Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Rekt Capital. Thanks so much for joining me in today's video. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin's price action and what's going on here at these highs. And are we going to be seeing a repeat of what happened in mid-2022? Subscribe to the channel. Let's dive right into it. So, back here in mid-2022, upside wicks, overextension, FOMO buyers getting trapped before ultimately being snatched back into this range, to the bottom of this range, and we're seeing FOMO wicks beyond this resistance once again. However, these FOMO wicks are a little bit lower than these ones, and even the candle bodies from mid-2022 close at a higher price level than this previous monthly candle. So higher lows, or rather lower highs in terms of the wicks, in terms of the candle bodies themselves. So a lower high here, also this sort of horizontal resistance rejecting price. So it is very clear that we're still inside this range, just below it, hovering below this resistance, and as long as price continues to remain under this resistance, it could be rejected. And the thing about what we're seeing on the weekly time frame is yet another failed retest. So in mid-2022, Bitcoin was able to make its way above the key 23,400 level, and on the pullback, it actually broke down from this level. So it broke the resistance, but couldn't flip it into a support. And we're seeing the same thing happen here. Remember, we are here at a lower high, and there has been a failed retest. 23,400 wasn't able to be held as a support, and now we're seeing some sort of relief rallying. And indeed, this could actually be a relief rally, especially if price rejects at this level, because we wouldn't be able to break back above it and reclaim it as a support. But if Bitcoin is able to do exactly that and retest it as a support, then we might actually be able to see a breakout. But for the time being, this level could be a resistance, especially if we reject from there on this move up. And remember, these are the upside wicks that we're seeing on the monthly, so that weekly price action is very evident here. In the same way that downside wicking and downside deviations, especially this cluster of price action, are the weekly price movements below this 20k psychological range low, and we're seeing downside wicks here, and even this downside deviation. So it could be that if this resistance continues to reject price, then this is where Bitcoin is going to drop. This could be that dipping level as part of consolidation within this range, because we've seen consolidation inside this range many times before. And so this sort of movement, maybe some downside deviation like we saw in the past, that's all on the cards, especially if this resistance continues to reject price. But what we need to really take stock of is the bottom of this pattern here. And ever since the RSI broke out from this downtrending channel, it broke back in to this red wedge right over here. Bear markets occur here, bull markets end here. So right now, and since the breakout from this downtrending channel, this is what I've been expecting since late December, for the RSI to retest the bottom of this red wedge. So essentially these previous bear market bottoms for the RSI. So we are seeing some dipping there, and whenever we see a break back into a pattern, a pullback just to turn that old resistance into a new support is what happens. This is actually what happens with price action. With technical indicators, it doesn't have to be the case, but that can give us at least an outline of expectation, what to potentially foresee and expect from price in the future. So some dipping towards this green area would be healthy, and we might see Bitcoin's price dip along with that. And if that indeed becomes the case, then we'd be seeing dipping within this macro range. And the way that I'm going to be approaching this is that if the RSI indeed dips here, it will be to form a higher low relative to these November lows, and as soon as the RSI retests the bottom of this red wedge, that would probably be the end of the retrace. So in terms of Bitcoin's price action, whatever happens during that time, whether Bitcoin only dips to this level and the RSI manages that retest, or it dips to this level and the RSI manages that retest, that RSI is going to be the metronome for the end of that dip for Bitcoin's price action. And that's a very important thing to mention here, especially if that dip indeed does materialize here on the RSI, and we can see that there is some initial flicking down from the RSI. And could we be seeing this part of the pathway? Because to be fair, I mentioned that this could be happening in the process of that breakout. We just broke out from this downtrending channel. There was no retest really. There was a rally towards the upside without any dipping, and it could have been the case that, and it still could be the case, that there will be a very shallow dip for the RSI right now, and it will just continue upwards like this, perhaps, like this. So it doesn't have to dip that deep, but I understand that if it does dip in towards this green area, that's going to be an area of interest for me, and to just look in parallel to the analogous situation going on for Bitcoin's price action. So this stage could be what we're seeing next, but it doesn't have to dip that low. And really, having said that, it is February 7th, and until the next monthly close occurs, there's still a lot of time left, and seeing as Bitcoin is positioned just below this macro downtrend, it's pretty much in this sort of candle, in this analogous candle right over here. So price action hovering below this macro downtrend, that tends to be a normality in terms of previous cycles, just trying to prepare itself for that explosive acceleration in the downtrend. So probably next month is where that next candle will close at around maybe these highs even, and if we do see these highs, this monthly candle close around these highs, then we're actually going to be pressing into the macro downtrend, which would probably lead to a lot of price compression and would probably see price breakout towards the upside. So right now we are hovering here, loads of weeks still to come in terms of dipping and whatever volatility here. Typically, we don't really see that much volatility in these candles prior to breakout. We do see some sort of downside wicks, so that could give us an idea, and you can see here downside wick as well. It can give us an idea into a downside wick happening right over here, something like this. Not too volatile a downside wick, but nonetheless one worth paying attention to. The candle has opened here, so really we're really already in downside wicking territory. This dip is already in that dipping territory, and upon monthly close, because historically we have seen candle closes occur as green by the end of the month, so it could at worst or at best, depending on how you look at it, if you're trying to buy the dip, this could be the downside wick that we get all month and manage to monthly close as green just below this trend line. So we are actually in downside wicking territory right now, but the question is, how much more wicking could we get? And really it's not really a game worth playing in my opinion, because we're not going to remember this 5%, 10% dip, whatever we get, because if you think about it, a 5 or 10% dip from current prices, if we talk about how Bitcoin rallies to new all-time highs in every cycle, and you can see that, for instance, here we break out to the cycle after the halving, same thing here, after the halving we break out to new all-time highs. Trying to buy on a minus 5 to 10% retracement from here on a dip, that's going to be only a difference of some 20 to 30% once we break out to new all-time highs from current price levels. So if you're really interested in getting the most out of the move, then by all means, that's a 5 to 10% dip from here might be worth it, but we don't even know if we're going to get that. And for the long term, it's not too big of a difference, and stressing over this is perhaps not necessarily needed in maybe an already stressful life, for instance. So the way I think about it is, of course, dip, I'd be happy to buy the dip if we get it, but upon this confirmation here, right here or right here, it would be very easy for me to buy beyond this downtrend, and knowing that downtrend breaching means that there will be a multi-month high, at least, occurring for a while. So in this fashion, for instance, multi-month uptrend, then consolidation, perhaps multi-month uptrend, consolidation. But in this case, we got a multi-month uptrend and then a multi-month downtrend. Although this was a downtrending consolidation in a very clear channel, this was sideways consolidation. So it really depends on if you're holding for the long term, like I am. Perhaps I'll try to trade this, or at least a portion of my trading portfolio for Bitcoin for the swing, and then upon a retest or at least a retrace, I'll buy in a little bit lower. But my core long-term position that I've been buying since sub 25 and sub 20k, my core position I'm just going to hold for the entire cycle. So those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed them. Thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like the video if you enjoyed this one and would like to see more videos like this going forward. Feel free to sign up to the Rekt Capital newsletter. Loads of interesting pieces of content coming out this week, including in the next week or two my altcoin watch list. So if you'd like to check out my altcoin plays, feel free to sign up to the Rekt Capital newsletter. That's about it. Thanks so much for watching today. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.